Big news for indie horror fans. Tormented Souls 2 has officially sold over 100,000 copies since its release. On the surface, that number might not seem impressive compared to AAA horror juggernauts like Resident Evil 4 or Silent Hill 2, which have sold millions worldwide. But for a smaller studio operating on a modest budget, this milestone is significant. Indie games don't have the luxury of massive marketing campaigns or extensive development teams, so every sale counts. For the team behind Tormented Souls 2, hitting 100,000 copies is not just about revenue. It's a validation that their vision resonated with players in a crowded and competitive market. To understand why this matters, it helps to look at other indie horror successes. Titles like Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Soma, and Layers of Fear all crossed similar sales thresholds during their first year, and those games went on to define modern indie horror. Selling 100,000 copies is the sort of achievement that gives a small studio the confidence and financial stability to plan future expansions, sequels, or even entirely new projects. It signals that there's a dedicated audience for high quality, narrative driven horror that doesn't rely on blockbuster budgets or AAA level graphics. In a genre where the market is flooded with low quality releases and one off jump scare games, achieving this kind of traction is a noteworthy success. What sets Tormented Souls 2 apart from other horror games is its commitment to classic survival horror mechanics while still feeling fresh and modern. The game embraces fixed camera angles, careful resource management, and environmental puzzles that force players to think strategically instead of just running and shooting. Unlike many contemporary horror titles that lean heavily on action or open world exploration, Tormented Souls 2 creates tension through atmosphere, sound design, and the fear of what might be lurking around the next corner. Its visual and audio design have been widely praised for amplifying the sense of isolation and dread, proving that indie developers can craft genuinely terrifying experiences even without AAA production values. Another reason this milestone is meaningful is that it speaks to the broader health of indie horror as a genre. Players are actively seeking experiences that combine nostalgia with innovation, and Tormented Souls 2 delivers on both fronts. It's a reminder that horror doesn't have to be loud or flashy to leave an impact. The careful pacing, the strategic use of scares, and the intricate environmental storytelling are all elements that appeal to a niche but devoted audience. Reaching 100,000 sales indicates that there is room in the market for horror games that prioritize clever design, thoughtful narrative, and tension over spectacle. Looking ahead, this level of success opens up interesting possibilities for the future. With the studio now in a stronger financial position, players can reasonably hope for additional content. This could include story driven DLC, new game modes, or alternate endings that expand the world of Tormented Souls 2. Indie horror thrives on community feedback, and the game's early success might encourage the developers to experiment with features that directly respond to player interest, potentially including VR support, new environments, or even spin offs. Beyond just DLC, this milestone also positions the studio as a serious player in the indie horror scene, increasing the likelihood that they can take risk in future projects and potentially reach an even larger audience. Ultimately, the success of Tormented Souls 2 is a testament to what passionate development and smart design choices can achieve in the indie space. It shows that even without a multi-million dollar budget, a small team can create a game that captures attention, generates buzz, and sells impressively well. For fans of horror, it's exciting to see the genre thriving outside of the AAA sphere, and it underscores the potential to innovative, smaller scale horror games to make a lasting impact. Reaching 100,000 sales isn't just a number. It's a signal that this kind of game has a future and that players are eager for experiences that blend classic survival horror with modern sensibilities. So, what do you think? Does Tormented Souls 2 deserve this milestone? And what kind of content would you like to see from the developers next? Could this success lead to a third installment or exciting DLC expansions? Indie horror is all about surprises, creativity, and community support, And it will be fascinating to watch how the studio builds on this momentum. If you enjoyed diving into the world of Tormented Souls 2, don't forget to like, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell to keep up with more indie horror news and analysis. The future of horror isn't just in big budget franchises, it's also in the hands of talented indie teams who prove that smaller doesn't mean less terrifying. Until next time, game on.